Alright, this is my first attempt at a swarm box. I guess you could call it a prototype. Got the measurements off the internet, but unfortunately, apparently I'm not very good at following instructions. But in my defense, there weren't really any instructions, they were just measurements from a website. So, the first time is kind of a odd looking swarm box. My bee space is a little off because, as you can see, I had to add the ledge on the inside where the end pieces should have provided that edge, and I had to add this piece to cover up the gaps on the sides. This end, a little uglier, but still pretty much the same situation. And this one only holds 4 frames where there should have been 5. And because the telescoping lid actually is shorter than the end pieces, I added some handles. So all in all, it's ugly, but I'm still going to use it. Soon to be painted. And then we'll move on to my second attempt, which was a lot better. And then hopefully to the third iteration, which box number 2. As you can see, the dimensions weren't quite exact, but I think that might have to do with the leftover scrap plywood that I'm working with. I had to trim both sides and the end to get the top cover to fit correctly. This one I did manage to assemble correctly so that I have the frame rest as part of the ends. So this one is probably at least 100% better than the first one, but it still lacked a little bit. The third and last one I've put together hopefully will be a lot better, simply because I redid the dimensions to fit what I was doing. So it just goes to show you can't always trust what you I guess the old adage is true, third time is a charm. Box went together correctly, no major gaps. It actually holds 5 frames like it's supposed to. The frame rests are the ends as they're supposed to be. Everything turned out nice and square. It actually looks like a swarm box is supposed to look like. So now that I've gotten all my measurements down, I'm going to proceed hopefully to make about 10 of these so that I can put them out and get some free bees this year. I do need to get some drawn comb. My swarm commander is already in the cabinet and waiting to be used, so all I need now is my entry hole and either a screen or an entry door. I do have to add the hanging bar, which is just going to be a piece of 1x4 pine, pretty easy to attach. So I'll update you when I get them painted. I want the color to be a surprise because it wasn't what I was expecting I was going to paint these. So, alright, here you see a couple of frames. They are old supers that I bought from a fellow, and I must say rather cheaply, that wax moths had gotten into. So, as an example, this is what your combs can look like if you store them in a place where wax moths can get to them. I'm taking them and I'm cleaning them up like this one, and when I'm done cleaning them, I'm going to put probably icicle or popsicle sticks in the top of the wedge bar where you'd normally put starter wax, or I may put starter wax, I haven't decided yet. And these frames are going to go into my swarm traps. And as you can see over here, I've got a few of them cleaned up. And of course this is the old supers that I bought that the wax moths have done their damage to. You can see another frame there that has been well eaten. But I'm going to clean these supers up, reuse them on my hives. These old frames are not going to be used for honey, but they're going to, like I said, go into my swarm traps because they smell like bees, and they smell like honey, and they smell like wax. And bee swarms apparently tend to like that kind of thing. So this is another small step in my swarm trap I think the last time we saw these, I had given them the primer coat of white. Actually, my son did it. I bribed him to paint those while he's not in school. And as you can see, they're a bright pink. That was not exactly intentional, but it was the cheapest exterior house paint I could find. And as you can see, I've got a hanger set up on the back. I think my next models may not have a telescoping lid, but I think they call them migratory lids, so that I don't have to have a spacer for my hanging board. And of course on the front I got the little B door, and son Andy made up the logos. I believe that B is missing a couple of wings, which we have corrected for our future boxes, so don't hold that against me. And inside you can see I currently have some new frames in there that I intended to use, but since I got these old wax moth frames, it's going to go in here with my old frame that we've got here in the deep. So that's what our bees will have to work with if I happen to catch a swarm on these.